Hey there, welcome to another Elderscrolls online build. I'm Dying Legacy and this is the Nature's Rage build, freshly updated for the Firesong patch. This was my first Stamina Warden build on the channel and it's gone through a few changes for the Firesong patch, so I figured a video was in order. For starters, we're switching to Dual Daggers and a Greatsword. The build was originally a two-hander and bow build, but the new setup hits a lot harder, and it survives a lot easier, which says a lot as the original build struggled to die in the first place. This is going to be a quick build guide. We'll be going over the race, the attributes, Munderstones, food, potions, gear, skills, passives and champion point slottables. The info will be minimal, so I'll only be going over what's necessary. However, do feel free to comment below if you have any suggestions, questions, or if there's anything I can do better. And if you enjoy it, why not leave a like and don't forget to subscribe for more. With the intro covered, let's go over the Nature's Rage build. Starting with the race, it doesn't really matter what you use, choose whatever race you want to play and find your own way to have fun in the game. But if you're looking for suggestions, I'd recommend either the Red Guard if you're looking for more sustain, the Khajiit for extra critical damage, or an Orc for extra weapon damage. For the attributes, we're putting 64 points into stamina, and for our Munderstone, when we're doing solo content, we're taking the Lover's Munderstone for extra spell and physical penetration. When doing content as part of a group, we'll be taking the Thief Munderstone for that extra critical rating. For our food, we are taking the Artaeum Takeaway Broth to increase our health recovery, max stamina and stamina recovery. You can pick these up at a guild vendor or make it yourself at a cooking station if you have the recipe. This can be rather expensive to get your hands on and to make yourself, in which case the cheaper option is the dubious Cameronian Throne. The stats are slightly lower and it doesn't give health recovery, but it's a very small difference, and overall it doesn't matter which one you actually use. For our potions, we're using Essence of Weapon Power, which grants us Major Brutality, Major Savagery, Major Endurance, and it restores some stamina immediately. We'll be using these for those longer and tougher fights. We can grab these at a guild vendor or make them at an alchemy station. If you haven't got any on you at the time, you can always pop an Essence of Stamina instead. They will give us Major Endurance and restore some stamina immediately. They might not be as useful as Weapon Power potions, but they are better than nothing and they do tend to drop from almost every mob in the game, so your bag will probably be full of them. Moving on to the gear now, we have the option to use a Maelstrom Greatsword and Payload or Ring on the build. They aren't necessary by any means, but we have options in their stead, which we'll go over first. We are using 7 medium armor pieces on this build, all with the Divine's trait and a Stamina enchant, and for the jewellery we're using the Bloodthirsty trait and weapon damage enchants. For our weapons we are using Dual Daggers for our front bar, our main hand will be Nirnhoned with a poison enchant, and our offhand will be charged with a fire enchant. For our back bar we're taking a two-handed greatsword with the infused trait and a weapon damage enchant. Moving on to the sets themselves however, starting with the body pieces, which are the chest, waist, hands, legs and feet. Our first choice is a trial set and it's the Arms of Reliquance set. This set is gotten from Cloud Rest, and on veteran difficulty you can get a perfected version, which adds extra stamina to the set. It's a minor increase compared to the unperfected version, so it doesn't matter what version you actually use. The set itself gives us critical chance, minor slayer at all times, and our light and heavy attacks add a stacking damage over time effect to our targets. That lasts for 5 seconds and stacks up to 10. If you haven't stepped into a trial or want to use something else, you can use the Aegis Caller set, which is gotten in the DLC Unhallowed Grave dungeon. This set adds weapon and spell damage, stamina recovery, and when you deal critical damage with a martial melee attack, you'll summon a lesser Aegis for 11 seconds, which will deal bleed damage every 1 second. This effect can occur once every 12 seconds. You can also use the Briarheart set, which is gotten from Hrothgar overland content, such as delves, war bosses and public dungeons. You can also pick it up at a guild vendor. Briarheart comes with critical chance and maximum stamina, and when you deal critical damage, your weapon and spell damage increases for 10 seconds. And while the effect is active, you'll heal when you do critical damage. For our weapons and jewellery, we are going with the Pillar of Nirn set, which is gotten from the DLC dungeon Valkyrie Hold, which gives us maximum stamina, critical chance and weapon and spell damage. And when you deal damage, you'll deal bleed damage to the target enemy and the enemies near the target, and causing them to take bleed damage for 10 seconds. For our monster sets, for our helm and shoulder slots, we have 2 choices. We can use the Bloodspawn set. The helm can be gotten from Spindleclutch 2 on veteran, and you can grab the shoulders from the Undaunted vendors. This set adds stamina recovery, and when we take damage we have a chance to gain extra ultimate and increase our resistances by 3601 for 5 seconds. Another good choice is the Stormfist set from Tempest Island. Again, the helm from veteran difficulty, and you can grab the shoulders from an Undaunted vendor. Stormfist adds stamina recovery, and when you deal damage you have a chance to summon a fist to close around the enemy, dealing shock damage every second for 3 seconds to all enemies within 4 meters. When the fist closes, it does a large amount of physical damage. Now for the Ring of the Pale Order, which is gotten from the Antiquity system. When using this, we will heal for 20% of all the damage we do, we can't be healed by anyone but ourselves, and the healing we do does decrease when we're in groups. The ring will take up a ring slot, so we'll need to wear our jewellery set on either our shoulder or helm. The slot doesn't matter, we will lose our 2 set bonus from our monster set, but the Pale Order ring makes up for it. You can stick with Bloodspawn or Stormfist for the 1-piece bonuses, or you could also use the Magma Incarnate set. The head is found in the Dreadcellar DLC dungeon on Veteran and the shoulder from the Undaunted vendors. The Magma Incarnate's 1-set bonus will give us Magicka and Stamina recovery. Lastly is the Maelstrom 2-handed sword, which is gotten from Maelstrom Arena, and we'll be using this in our back bar. There's a perfected version from Veteran difficulty, which adds extra offensive penetration. It doesn't matter which version we use, as we are more interested in the base effect, which is when dealing damage with critical charge, we cause enemies to bleed for over 10 seconds. That's everything for the gear, and now we're going to move straight on to the skills. We will start with the front bar, and our first skill up is Blood Craze. You'll morph this from Twin Slashes, and it's found in the Dual Wield skill line. This will deal bleed damage and cause the enemy to bleed for 20 seconds, and it heals you over its duration. We're also using Barb Trap, morphed from Trap Beast, and can be found in the Fighter's Guild skill line. The trap deals bleed damage and causes the enemy to bleed for 20 seconds, and it also grants us Minor Force. It can also immobilize enemies for 2 seconds as well. On to Cutting Dive, morphed from Dive and found in the Animal Companion skill line. A Cliff Racer will dive bomb an enemy and deal bleed damage. If you're more than 7 meters away, you'll set the target off balance for 7 seconds. If the enemy is not off balance, you'll cause the enemy to bleed for 10 seconds. Next up is Subterranean Assault, morphed from Scorch and found in the Animal Companion skill line. This will cause a group of shock to pop out of the ground after 3 seconds and deal poison damage to enemies in front of you. After they attack, they will burrow again, and after 3 seconds will pop up once again and attack. Our next skill is Growing Swarm, morphed from Swarm and found in the Animal Companion skill line. This will cause a target to bleed for 20 seconds and applying minor vulnerability to the target as well. Enemies near the initial target take bleed damage every 2 seconds for the duration. For the ultimate on the front bar, we are using Wild Guardian, morphed from Feral Guardian and found in the Animal Companion skill line. This will have a grizzly bear fight by your side. The bear can do AoE and bleed damage to enemies, as well as being able to stun enemies. While summoned, you can activate the ultimate again to maul an enemy with heavy bleed damage and doing 100% more damage to enemies under 25% health. Okay, next we're going to move on to the back bar skills, and our first skill up is Stampede, morphed from Critical Charge, which is found in the 2-handed skill line. You'll charge an enemy and deal physical damage to them and nearby enemies. This is always a critical strike, and you'll also leave an AoE under their feet for 15 seconds that deals physical damage. Next is Carve, which is morphed from Cleave, which is found in the 2-handed skill line. You'll deal bleed damage to enemies in front of you and cause them to bleed for 12 seconds. Hitting an enemy again will increase the duration up to 32 seconds. This also gives us a damage shield. We're also using Winter's Revenge, morphed from Impaling Shards and found in the Winter Embrace skill line. You'll summon icy shards at a target location that deals frost damage every second for 12 seconds. Enemies hit will have reduced movement speed, and enemies have a higher chance of having the chill status effect applied to them from this skill. On to Bull Netch next, morphed from Betty Netch and found in the Animal Companion skill line. This Bull Netch will restore stamina to us over 25 seconds and will also grant us Major Brutality and Sorcery. And every 5 seconds the Netch will remove 1 negative effect from us. Next up is Resolving Vigor, morphed from Vigor and found in the Assault skill line. This will cause you to heal over 5 seconds and you'll also gain Minor Resolve. Now for the ultimate on the back bar, we are also slotting Wild Guardian again, just as we did on the front bar, because this skill is a summon. A summon will unsummon itself when you switch weapon bars if the skill is not present on that bar. So we have this ultimate on both bars, so we can always have our bear running about with us. Now that covers the skills, so we'll go over the passives now as well, and we're going to start with the class passives. First up is Animal Companion skill line. We want to take everything in here, which includes Bond with Nature, Savage Beast, Flourish and Advanced Species. In the Green Balance skill line, we'll only be taking Maturation. We're not using any other skills from this, so none of these passives are going to activate. And onto the Winter Embrace skill line, we'll be taking Glacial Presence, Frozen Armor, Icy Aura and Piercing Cold. We are also using Dual Daggers, so we'll take everything in the Dual Wield skill line. These are Slaughter, Dual Wield Expert, Control Fury, Ruffian and Twin Blade and Blunt. Next is the 2-handed skill line. Again, we'll take everything. This includes Forceful, Heavy Weapons, Balanced Blade, Follow Up and Battle Rush. We're wearing full medium armor, so we'll take everything in the medium armor skill line, just like our weapons, which are Dexterity, Windwalker, Improved Sneak, Agility and Athletics. We are using Fighter's Guild skills, so in the Fighter's Guild skill line, we'll be taking Intimidating Presence, Slayer, Banish the Wicked and Skilled Tracker. And next up is the Undaunted passives. In here, we'll be taking Undaunted Command and Undaunted Metal. This next passive is optional, and it can be found in the Assault skill line, and it's continuous attack. We only need to put 1 point into this to get Major Gallop. If we put a second point in, we're not going to get anything that's remotely useful, and it's not going to increase our gallop speed. However, if you do plan on doing PvP in Cyrodiil or anything like that, then do feel free to put in a second point. Moving on to the racial passives now, these are very specific to every race in the game. No matter what race you choose, you do want to grab everything. However, I would suggest that you read over everything as well, just so you understand what extra attributes you're getting and what kind of advantages you're getting, as every race has their own passives, and you do want to know which ones are beneficial to your style of play. I have the suggestions on the screen as we speak. And lastly, one more optional passive, which I add to every single video I do, which I would class as necessary, and it's medicinal use, which is found in the alchemy skill line. This causes our potions to last much longer, and it also makes the potions outlast their cooldown, so you can always have a potion active. So that's everything for the passives, so now I'm going to quickly go over the champion point solubles themselves, and I'm going to start with the warfare tree. In the warfare tree, you want to grab wrathful strikes to increase weapon and spell damage. We want fighting finesse to increase our critical damage and healing. We also want deadly aim to increase our single target attacks, and we also want to grab thaumaturge to increase our damage over time attack. In the fitness tree skill line, we want boundless vitality to increase our health. We're also taking fortified to increase our armor, as well as rejuvenation for increased sustain. And we'll also be taking bloody renewal to help get back stamina when we kill an enemy. In the craft tree skill line, it'll mostly be down to your own choice, as nothing here really impacts the build, and it's mostly down to your kind of playstyle. But when I'm soloing, I like to take Treasure Hunter to increase the quality of items I find in chests. I also like to grab Rationeer to increase my food duration, and Liquid Efficiency to give myself a small chance to not consume a potion or poison when I use it. I also like to take Steed's Blessing to increase my out of combat movement speed to get around a bit quicker. And that covers everything for the champion mod solubles. It also covers everything for Nature's Rage. So I hope this was helpful in some way, or at least gave you some ideas for your own builds, and hit the like button if it did. If you have any thoughts, suggestions, or just want to have a chat, please do comment below. I love to chat to all of you when I make these videos, and I like to get your feedback. If you happen to be looking for more videos like this, you should subscribe. I have more builds and MMO content and way more to come. And you can also come chat to me in real time over twitch.tv/DyingLegacy, where I play a ton of MMOs drizzled with some variety. Things are a bit more spicy over there and sometimes downright unhinged. As always, I appreciate the support, and thanks so much for watching the video. You take care of yourselves and keep being awesome, and I'll catch you next time.